I will give you the long and short of it as briefly as I can. So I'm 12 weeks pregnant right now, and when my husband and I found out, we informed our families immediately. It has been 6 weeks since then, and for the past 6 weeks, my mother-in-law has been nothing but a total nuisance in my life. I don't know what her problem is, but she just feels the constant need to insert herself where she's not needed. To keep giving me advice when I have not asked for it, and in short, she's just been really troublesome. My husband and I have been married for 2 years, and we have been together for 5 years. His mother's always been a bit overbearing, but I have always dealt with it because usually I know that it comes from a place of concern and affection. So even though it can get a bit annoying at times, even though she tends to talk a lot and give me a lot of unwanted advice, I always hear her out quietly and respectfully, but then I do whatever I want to. That's how I've always functioned, but ever since I told her about the pregnancy, I've had a lot more to deal with than usual. She has been coming over almost every other day, and because she has a few health problems, it's not like she can actually help me, but her presence always means that my husband and I end up with extra chores after she goes back home because she makes it a point to have her dinner with us and then leave. And coming over so frequently is a bit of a problem for us, but we can't even say anything about it because we don't want to hurt her. And even though she keeps bothering me with her advice, I have tried to keep my mouth shut about it, although it's been quite difficult. It's almost always pointless, outdated, and borderline risky advice as well. So we just don't follow up on any of it, but I guess she has started to take note of it because recently when she came over, she started telling me and my husband that she had noticed that we were not actually doing any of the things that she's been suggesting. I don't want to get into it, but she seemed a bit offended, and we had to finally tell her we didn't think that her ideas were in accordance with ours, and we would prefer to have our pregnancy journey go our way. And while we respected her experience and concern, we were doing fine the way we were going. And my husband and I genuinely thought that that would be the end of it. But 2 days later, she had shown up once again, and that was when everything went wrong. It's been close to a week since then, and we have not seen her because what happened was that she decided to make some herbal remedies that she had bought off of a friend of hers, and that ended up giving me food poisoning that sent me to the hospital. The staff at the hospital told us that the baby was not in danger, but I could have fallen even more sick if I had not been rushed to the hospital after I started vomiting violently and started to develop a fever at night, a few hours after having had our dinner. They told us they had found some toxins in my system, and we found it quite bizarre because I was the one who had made dinner that day. It wasn't even like we had ordered takeout or anything, and we couldn't figure out for the life of us why something like this would happen. But then the next day, my husband was speaking to his mom and telling her all about what had happened, and she ended up confessing about it herself, and she was crying, saying that she didn't intend on doing anything wrong, but she had just wanted to help us out. So she had mixed some powder into my food when nobody was looking. Apparently, it was supposed to be some hormone balancing enzyme that she had bought off of a friend of hers. And this friend was pretty shady herself. This friend that she spoke of was not even somebody she had met in real life. She had started talking to her after she had joined a Facebook group of mother-in-laws who were expecting a grandchild, and there she had befriended this woman online. She hardly even knew this person, but she had shared a lot about her own life and how excited she was to be a grandmother. And this lady had suggested this powder to her and had even sold it to her, but the transaction itself had been offline. My mother-in-law had paid $3,000 for a small packet of this particular powder, and she hadn't even met the woman herself. The lady had apparently sent her grandson to a cafe with the packet, And even that did not seem to ring any warning bells for my mother-in-law. I mean, while my husband narrated the whole incident to me, every single thing literally felt so fishy, and yet my mother-in-law had unsuspectedly trusted this woman and consequently put me in danger. Now, see, she's free to do whatever she wants. But the fact that she put me in such a difficult situation where I ended up spending 3 nights at the hospital, that was unforgivable for me. And I decided to go no contact with her. I don't have a problem with people who are a bit stupid, like my mother-in-law, but here she was creating trouble for me and I couldn't have that, especially while I was pregnant. She tried to visit me at the hospital, and she even told my husband that apparently after learning that I had been to the hospital, she tried to contact the lady that she had been speaking to, but by then she had been blocked. She said she was going to report that person to the cops and that she wanted to meet me in person and say that she was really sorry about everything that had happened. But I was not interested because honestly, I was just really annoyed with her and I wanted some time and space away from her because for the past couple of weeks, putting up with her had been very difficult for me. My patience was wearing thin, and after what had happened, whatever her intentions might have been, I couldn't ignore the impact of it. I couldn't ignore the fact that she had made me fall sick. And it was all because she was being so overbearing and controlling that she couldn't even imagine letting me have my way. And she had to get involved in some way or the other. I'm not saying that being concerned and trying to be an active part of my pregnancy is a bad thing. But even my own mother is not acting like this, so I don't understand why she had to go out of her way and do something like this. Anyway, the thing is, I don't feel particularly bad about wanting to spend some time away from her and not having any contact with her for the moment. I don't know about the future. Maybe we will be able to patch things up by the time the baby's born, but for now, I just need some peace and quiet. I really don't think I'm asking for too much, and I haven't even said that my husband's not allowed to speak to her or anything. That is his personal choice. He has said that even he is pretty upset with her and annoyed that she would do something like this without even considering the repercussions of what it could be. He has said that for now, he wants to stay away from her. And yes, technically, in a way, we are cutting her out of our lives at the moment, but I think it's for the best. She's not taking that well, though, just as expected. And she has been bombarding us with messages and emails, trying to call us constantly, apologizing repeatedly, and trying to make us feel guilty so she can eventually come back into our lives. And the way she's acting is making me feel seriously weird. It's making me second guess my decision. And I am sure that it's doing the same to my husband, if not worse. I don't want to hurt her or anything, but I really think it is good for us to spend some time away from her because she had really been getting on our nerves. The only problem is that I cannot seem to ignore the messages that she's been sending us, nor can my husband. And both of us feel kind of bad about it because it's pretty clear that she feels sorry about everything that's happened. She has apologized several times. She keeps saying that she wants another chance to make it up to us somehow and that she's not going to let us down this time. And she just needs one more chance to help us out. But I don't know if it's going to work or not. And I feel seriously guilty about how I'm acting. I feel like I'm doing something very wrong, but for now, like I've said, I just need to be on my own. And I think it's the same with my husband as well. We just don't know how to get it through to her without feeling like complete jerks about it. Anyway, what do you guys think? AITA for not wanting to have any contact with my mother-in-law at the moment? Edit. Okay, so a lot of you guys were asking me exactly what my mother-in-law had been telling me to do and why we were so annoyed with her for being so nosy. Honestly, I don't know. I hadn't mentioned it because I didn't think that it was that relevant because I thought most people would know the kind of outdated notions that I'd been referring to. It was the same old rubbish she was telling me, not to have pasteurized milk because it was too processed, and I should start drinking raw milk instead because that would have more nutrients, and even insisted that I should do the same with my baby after the birth as well. Obviously, I don't need to elaborate on that, so I was ignoring it completely. She also said that I shouldn't raise my arms above my head at any cost, since that could entangle the umbilical cord around the baby's neck, which I really don't think is true. And she had basically forbidden me from using the microwave. She would start panicking every time I would even go near it, saying that the radiation is going to be very dangerous for the baby and that I shouldn't even consider using it. Obviously, that's not possible for me. I'm a working woman and I'm not on maternity leave yet. So I need a microwave. And I hadn't been listening to her on that, and she didn't notice it. And neither had I been drinking the raw milk, and she had taken note of that as well. She had also been insisting that I should think about a natural birth at home, because the hospitals and epidurals would be too much for me to handle. And it was not going to be easy or good for me in the long run. Basically, she kept trying to tell me what to do about the whole thing, and I couldn't handle it. It was getting too much for me to take. My husband had also tried to explain to her several times that whatever misconceptions she had, it had long been disproven, but she was not ready to believe us on any of this. In a situation like that, we did not want to argue with her because it was not like she was imposing or anything. In reality, she's a soft-spoken person, and that's a major part of the reason why we used to feel so concerned about offending her or making her feel bad. But she's just very adamant in her beliefs. And I think that's the worst part of everything. But anyway, these were the things that we had differences of opinions about for the most part. So I guess you guys can understand why we're not so keen on seeing her again. Update 1. So almost 2 weeks have passed since the incident took place, and I'm very happy to tell you guys that I'm perfectly fine now. After I was discharged from the hospital, I had been feeling kind of sick and ill at ease for a few days, but now I think I'm more than fit and fine. Things could have been worse, but I think I got out of it pretty safely. My physical health is right. And I wouldn't even say that I'm emotionally drained or anything, but I would definitely say that the whole thing with my mother-in-law has been a source of disturbance to both me and my husband, and we haven't exactly been totally comfortable with how things have been dealt with. Like I had said in my previous post, we were not responding to her, but we had not exactly blocked her either, because she lives alone. She's a widow since we lost my father-in-law quite a few years ago. We did not like the thought of blocking her, so she wouldn't have any way to contact us if something were to happen. God forbid nothing should happen, but just in case, you know what I mean. Anyway, at one point, she had been sending us so many messages and emails, and one day we were forced to mute her, at least. We were still checking her messages, but just not as often as before. We were checking it periodically just to make sure that nothing had happened. After a while, though, around last week, she stopped sending anything at all. It was just complete radio silence, so my husband decided to check on her, just for his own peace of mind, because after all, she's still his mother, and I get it. We didn't do it directly, though, because then that would lead to a lot of things, so he decided to drive by her house so that she wouldn't know. And he's also on good terms with his mom's next-door neighbors, so he asked them about it as well and was told that she's doing perfectly fine, at least physically. When he had driven by her house while coming back home from work, he had also seen her walking around through the curtains. So she might be upset about everything that had happened, but at least she was physically healthy, and that was all that we needed to know. She was not completely abandoned, and I think that's the only thing that we can do to alleviate our guilt at the moment. So, like I said, we had heard almost nothing from her for the past couple of days, and then last evening she sent us an email once again saying that she had thought about everything that had happened, and she couldn't believe that she was being treated with such indifference and cruelty over something that had been nothing but an honest mistake on her part. She said she had done everything in her power to make us feel like she was generally sorry for it, which she really was. And she was never going to stop being sorry for her because she knew she had endangered not just me, but also her future grandchild. And she was never going to be able to forgive herself for that. But she definitely expected some sort of reply from us at the very least, even if it was just to say that we did not forgive her. She said that it was very strange that we were choosing to completely ignore her after all that she had done, after all the concern and affection she had shown to us, especially me. She said she never expected this from me after treating me like her own daughter for so many years. She said that she really believed that, and even though she had done something very stupid and made a silly mistake, she deserved to be spoken to not be treated so poorly, and yet we couldn't even bother ourselves to respond to her once or even check up on her. Obviously, she had no idea that she definitely had been checked upon, and it was not like she had been totally abandoned, but she believed otherwise. And with that belief, she ended that email by saying that she was really disappointed in our conduct, and now she would learn to live her life without expecting anything from anyone, not even her own son, let alone her son's partner. I mean, obviously, I have to say that I felt kind of bad for her, but what could I do? We read the email together since she had sent it to me, and after a while my husband decided he was going to speak to his mother in a couple of days because right now, obviously, things were a bit heated. Because even though the tone of the email had been impeccably polite, like his mother always is, it was clear that she was not happy about what had happened and how she had been treated. Honestly, I don't know what to expect next. Update 2. So before anything else, I would just like to say that my mother-in-law, like I had said in my last email, has always been the most polite person ever. I think I have kept saying it right from the beginning. She's extremely soft-spoken, very polite, very well behaved, basically. And that's one of the biggest reasons that we have put up with her for, because how do you even cut off somebody like that without feeling guilty for hurting them? And yes, I know for a fact that she has never had any sort of ill intentions towards me, unlike whatever people have been saying in the comments. Trust me, I know this for a fact. I have seen her behavior with other people. She's always the same with everyone, even me. We have never had any fights or arguments before, because even when she's been annoying, it's very hard to be mad at her because she's so kind and her behavior is so good. Also, like I said, her intentions have always been good. She has always had our best interests at heart, but she hasn't always gone about it in the best way, and that's what the problem is. She doesn't even realize when she can become too overbearing. She doesn't understand the difference between showing concern and smothering somebody, and that's a problem. So yes, for everyone who's saying that this is all an act or something, you can put up an act for a few months or even a few years, but for as long as I have known her, yeah, I really don't think that it's possible for somebody to be constantly putting up an act and behaving so differently in comparison to how they actually feel, if that's the case. So I would really like to tell people, trust me on this. She's not the kind of person that people are conjecturing her to be. And even though we are kind of having a tiff right now, I would want people to be fair to her. Even if the people that I'm talking about are strangers to her, I would still not want you guys to have an incorrect or misleading opinion of her. So please keep in mind all of this. Having gotten this out of the way, I think I can move on with what I actually have to say. So in my previous update, I had mentioned that my husband was planning on speaking to his mother and trying to clear the air so that she would at least know she had not been totally abandoned, that we just needed some time to ourselves to be able to fully forgive her and move on from what happened. Because lately, everything had been a little too much for us to handle. And that was all that it was. So she needed to learn that and let go for a bit. And so 2 days after that email, he decided to pay her a visit and talk to her. I did not go because, as it is, I was feeling quite tired from work and everything, and I did not want to get into all of this. I had enough on my plate as it is. He dropped by at her house while he was coming back home from work, and he was there for about 2 hours, and by the time he came back home, he seemed in a better mood. And he told me he had spoken to his mother and it had gone quite well, better than he had expected. So naturally, even I'm quite happy. And it's been 3 days now, and they have been talking to each other, but she has also learned to give us our space, and she's not constantly trying to intrude or anything. She has not contacted me yet, except to apologize for her previous email and say that she was in the wrong. And she should not have tried to guilt trip us so much and been so controlling. And she really regretted her behavior and she would try to do better in future. I appreciated that. So I finally replied to her saying that I was glad she had acknowledged all of this and that I would look forward to repairing our relationship. But for now, I really couldn't think about all of that because I had to finish up all my work, because I plan on going on maternity leave with most of my work done with. So that's my primary focus at the moment. And obviously being pregnant comes with its own set of challenges and worries. So I'm dealing with that as well. And I really don't have the time and energy to invest in anything else. And I hope she understands that and respects our privacy at the moment. She responded by saying that she definitely would, and that was that. And I think that this is exactly what we needed. Honestly, I'm glad my husband decided to speak to her, because this way, neither does she feel abandoned by us, nor do we feel guilty anymore, because we definitely had been feeling a lot of that in the past. But now that he has talked to her and smoothed everything out, I think all of us are in a better position than we were previously. In the future, maybe in a couple of weeks or so, I would probably want to have her over so I can talk to her in person as well and sort everything out between the two of us, because I would really like that. However, I would still want her to maintain her boundaries like she's doing right now, and I don't want her to overstep or become overbearing like she was. So it's a fine line that we have to walk, and I just hope that we are able to find that balance. Apart from that, though, I don't really have any complaints with the situation, and I'm perfectly happy right now. Update 3. Hey everybody, so it's been close to 3 weeks or maybe even more since I last posted. And a couple of days back, my husband and I decided that it was finally time that I felt ready to have his mother come over again. We had been discussing it for a couple of days as it is, and after throwing around the idea for a while, I thought that it was finally time I forgive her for everything that happened, because I think I'm over it now, and I've had a sufficient period of rest as well. And I don't want to keep her waiting too long. So we decided to invite her over for dinner, and last evening she came over and I could see that she was pretty obliged. Right from the beginning she was very gracious, and as usual she was very well behaved. But this time, the most significant, biggest difference from the previous time was that she did not try to provide any unsolicited advice or give me any opinion that I did not ask for, that she knew would not sit well with me. She stuck to safe topics, and she also repeatedly apologized for all the inconvenience that she's caused me in the past, and she told me she would make sure never to repeat that kind of behavior again, because she seriously had to get a reality check so she would be able to maintain her boundaries better. And I really appreciated the fact that she was so respectful of my boundaries now. And yes, I know a lot of people were not happy after my previous update, and they thought that it was very weak of me to forgive her so quickly. But I think everybody deserves a second chance. And I think the fact that she was not doing anything with bad intentions, that she had just made a few mistakes that proved to backfire, and then she actually even apologized for it and did not try to defend herself or justify it, that's what matters to me. And that's what really counts at the end of the day. Personally, I think it would have been more than easy for her to try and pretend that it had not been a big deal. And in fact, she could have chosen not to tell us the truth in the first place, because we didn't know that she was the one who had been responsible for the powder being mixed into the food. So she could have just kept that information to herself and all would have been fine. But she didn't do that, and I think her honesty and her apologies and her change in behavior all count for something, and I'm glad I chose to forgive her. A lot of people may not like it, but I think I did the right thing because we were able to sort things out. We were able to clear the air, and now I think our family is on the right track to receive the baby into the world, so I have no regrets. Update 4. It's been a couple of months since my previous update, and lots of things have happened. First and foremost, like I had mentioned, we had our first dinner with my mother-in-law after our fallout, and from there we started building our relationship again. She's been educating herself. She's got rid of all her misconceptions now and the few superstitions that she has held on to. She doesn't try to impose them on us anymore. She respects our boundaries, and we've been getting along fine for the past couple of months. So I would say we are almost there, and we are happy with our bond now. And secondly, and most importantly, my son was born a couple of weeks back, and it was a few weeks before my due date. But nevertheless, he was a happy and healthy baby boy, and we are so thrilled to have him here with us. My husband and I have decided to name him after a variation of my father-in-law's name, and my mother-in-law couldn't have been happier. Even my parents think it's a great idea because my father-in-law was a good, respectable man, so nobody has any complaints. They have all been dropping by frequently, and honestly, it's more than welcome because everybody has been helping me out in their own way. So I really appreciate that. Things are going well for me, and my husband and I have never been happier, honestly. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.